The Labour Party will be supporting the Sinn Féin motion tonight. The devastating crash caused by disastrous economic mismanagement saw unemployment peak in late 2011 at 15.9%, with hundreds of thousands losing their jobs, emigrating or being underemployed. The crisis of record high unemployment has largely been addressed, but much work remains to be done to help more people back to work and education. The JobPath approach is no longer needed, in my view. The pressure from the Troika to set up JobPath came in the context of very high unemployment. The greatest concern for policymakers and politicians was the prospect of a generation of workers becoming long-term unemployed and lost to the world of work, as happened in the 1980s, and thankfully that has been avoided. It is our view that public and community services are much better placed now to deliver the tailored supports to workers rather than for-profit entities like CTEC and Tuas Nua. The Department should go back to fully supporting the local employment service and resourcing community employment schemes, along with education and training programmes to help those most distant from the workforce to reskill and equip themselves for work. Labour is justifiably proud that due to the work we started, unemployment has fallen for 25 straight quarters in a row. And that is one of the biggest drops in unemployment ever in the developed world. The crisis of unemployment saw many different approaches applied to get people back to work. Under Pathways to Work and the Action Plan for Jobs, hundreds of measures were taken. Much more needs to be done, but some of those measures can now be retired. The success of schemes like Jobs Plus, community employment, back to education, Momentum and TOOS in keeping people's skills relevant and helping them back into work has worked. The business case for JobPath no longer exists. At the peak of the crisis, there were 321,900 people unemployed, a long-term unemployment rate of 9.5%, and thousands of people underemployed and emigrating. JobPath was a creation of the time when unemployment was significantly higher and expected to remain high for some time to come. Frankly, none of the experts in the Troika, the Department or elsewhere expected the jobs-rich recovery we have seen. In fact, for some time, many critics claimed that these weren't real jobs at all and that the jobs figures were false or misleading. At present, based on the latest figures published just today by the CSO, there is a seasonally adjusted unemployment rate of 5.3%. And that is still too high, but there is no justification for continuing the commercial contracting of activation services at JobPath. The figures show a total of 127,300 people out of work. Unfortunately, no breakdown on duration is available in that series of figures. But looking at the most recent data available from the more comprehensive labour force survey, there were 50,200 long-term unemployed, but that will have fallen since. There is no justification for a programme of the scale of JobPath any longer to address that. There is more than adequate capacity within Intro, local employment service and activation schemes. Going back to early 2016, there were over 125,000 long-term unemployed, so the numbers have continued to fall and will continue to do so. So any analysis of the facts related to employment and the activation supports provided under the Intro service shows that there is sufficient capacity now to support those who need assistance. It is also disappointing that since the contract for JobPath was awarded in 2015, there has been no comprehensive external evaluation of the service. That is why I want to emphasise the support of the Labour Party for local employment services, particularly their one-on-one approach, the individualised supports they put in place for those seeking employment, especially those who may have disabilities, low educational or training qualifications, or indeed criminal records. The recent Indicon report shows the effectiveness of their on-the-ground approach. Unfortunately, no similar study is available on JobPath. After 3 years, it is bizarre that no independent data is available on the performance of the service. Additionally, Minister, there is a fear out there that I hope you will be able to allay tonight, is that the next series of tenders for local employment services will be a national tender that will exclude local partnerships and, by default, privatise the service to the likes of CTEC. Under the current JobPath contract, the last referrals will be at the end of 2019 with a 2-year workout period of up to 2021. The Minister should now commit in the House that Fine Gael will not extend the period for client referrals by 2 years as provided for in the terms of that contract. I hope the Minister will give that assurance. The one-size-fits-all approach of JobPath is no longer appropriate. It's time to go back to the tailored approach that has a proven track record. Briefly, I want to mention the culture within CTEC. It's been an unacceptable culture. I've received several complaints by constituents, top calibre people that I personally know and whose feedback I trust. And Minister, this is not anecdotal. This is not hearsay. These are people I know and trust. One 60-year-old woman with little formal education and definitely no computer skills being forced to sit in front of a computer to look for work, and being threatened that if she did not turn up on the next occasion to do the same, then her money would be cut. People being told to give up part-time jobs. A man on a short-time week ahead of redundancy after 30 years of service being told to give up the job. There was wholesale bullying of participants. And whether you accept that, Minister, or not, it's a fact. And people here will know that. People were walking out of rooms crying at the bullying approach of some of these people. And it's not acceptable. Minister, it is time to bring it to an end. That type of culture is unacceptable. It was possibly an experiment worth doing at a particular time under particular pressures, but now it's time to abandon it. No more referrals, please. No extensions of contract. Bring it to an end at the earliest opportunity. But I want to express a few words of disappointment. In the last page of your speech, when you say to talk about the future, you say you're looking to the future for activation services. My department is already examining future options for contracted activation provision for 2020 onward. That says to me, at least, that you're planning to continue it, and if that's the case, I'm extremely disappointed. Thank you, Kim Corley.